Kitchen counter, oscilloscope, microscope. All we need are the rows of test tubes to complete the standard picture of scientific research. But we're not dealing with the standard picture. On the contrary. Can these be the tools of serious research? Yes. If you think of them as possible answers to important questions like, how do you help a child with cerebral palsy hold her head up straight? Or how do you teach eye and hand coordination to a child with a learning disability? Toys do indeed play an important role in some of the research being supported by United Cerebral Palsy. For example, experiments in biofeedback being carried out at the Cruzen Center for Research and Engineering in Philadelphia. What exactly is biofeedback, or sensory feedback as it's also called? Simply stated, it provides the affected person with information as to how part of his or her body is performing. In Dr. Richard Herman's research, this little helmet is the key element, and the metal box on top holds a glass vial containing a solution. As the wearer's head tilts, the liquid moves the way it would in a carpenter's level. Electronic circuits transform the information into the angle of tilt, and as the head tilts, a toy turns on or off depending on that angle. Here, Carol Leeper, chief investigator on the project, and Joe Lang, the engineer who designed the device, calibrate the helmet's tilt angle. It's then ready to be put into operation at United Cerebral Palsy of Philadelphia, where Carol goes for another session with one of her chief collaborators.
Timothy Frog of Sesame Street News. Today I'm speaking to you from the lovely town.
Lift your head.
No, the collaborator isn't Kermit the Frog, but rather one small member of his audience, named
Lift your
Pia.
head up, Pia.
Sometimes in the course of the session, Carol will encourage Pia's cooperation by gently helping her to move her head,
You can watch
then letting Pia herself have a try at controlling the television picture.
Pia, do it. You lift your head up by yourself. Let's lift it up. Way up tall. Like a big girl. Thank you. You ready to have the hat on? You're not so sure what's happening. Okay, let's put the hat on.
Sesame Street is always a delight, but what Pia really enjoys most is running a railroad. And here we see how her all-important helmet allows her to become chief engineer.
Good. Let's turn the machine on.
When Pia's head drops from the midline, the train will not work, and she will hear an auditory signal through her earphones. As she raises her head, the signal will stop and the train will go.
Good girl. Pia's been holding her head up very nicely. All those people are getting lots of fun.
While this is going on, information about Pia's head movements are being recorded on a polygraph or pen recorder to be analyzed later.
You made it go around 2 or 3 times today, Pia. Is it going again? Make it come through the tunnel. Put your head up. Come on.
But what are the practical applications of all this? Well, it is hoped that training Pia to position her head can be extended into trunk positioning. Think of a disabled child sitting upright in a classroom and being able to attend to what is happening without tipping over every time he moves an arm. I'd say that was a step forward.
You're making it go so nicely today. That's right.
Carol meets from time to time with Dr. Tom Strax, consulting physician on the project, and himself a man born with cerebral palsy. Together, they analyze the movement graphs from the pen recorder and evaluate the progress of each child on the program. George Dalrymple of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He is the engineering consultant to a project called Creative Technological Aids. It's headed by Mary Driscoll, Director of Occupational Therapy at Kennedy Memorial Hospital in Boston. Under the direction of Dr. Robert Mann, Mrs. Driscoll is putting into use a number of ingenious electromechanical toys designed to help children with learning disabilities. Among them is the Magic Light Pen, which consists of this electronically wired pen, which stays lit as long as it remains on the blue path. If it strays onto the metal surface, the light goes off and a sound is heard. As well as developing eye-hand coordination and motor control, the Magic Light Pen has a motivational element. Tony can get back on the road himself, reach the end of the maze, and feel a sense of accomplishment at having corrected his own mistakes.
Go back on the road. There we go. That's good. When you hear a sound, you go back on the road. Good. Oh. Ooh.
This pen is heavy.
The pen is heavy. Okay, let's see. Can you hold the pen up a little bit so you can see the light? So when the light goes off, you'll know you have to go back on the road. Okay, start now.
Kathy, do you see how you can...
Space control, as this device is called, results not only in the strengthening of motor control, but also in the strengthening of muscles of the hand. For in the very act of grabbing and controlling the joystick, Kathy is exercising those muscles.
Now let's come back and hold it by the top. And I'm going to put a road map on the screen, okay? Now, what we're going to do is have the light take a walk from the plane to the plane. You make the light shine up here? See, right up there. Good. And down the road. You go down the road. See what it feels like? Watch. Right. Down the road. Okay, now let's see you do it. Here we go. Down the road. There it is, in the road. Now let's go over to the baseball player, okay? That's a little harder because it's a skinny road. Let's get the light right on the baseball player. Do you see the baseball player? Okay, can you get it in here? That's a little tricky. Good, Kat. And down.
The need is determined by the therapist and passed along to the students who work with MIT faculty guidance in creating the device itself. The therapist, engineers, and students meet now and then to explore changes or additions that will both enhance the device as well as the therapeutic process. At many of these conferences, a student will hold forth as a presenter of his or her own ideas. Here, Diane Chambers describes her project. MIT Professor Roger Kaufman was a faculty member who guided her in the development of the device called Magic Mice, which is intended to exercise the visual tracking ability of children having visual motor handicaps. And there are other exciting innovations. A question box that lets a child know whether she's right or wrong by means of lights keyed to go on according to her responses. She can solve problems, can correct her answer without having someone tell her she's wrong. A child whose memory is defective tries to repeat a program sequence by pushing the appropriate buttons, which light up if pressed in the right sequence. Toys that teach. Tools that improve skills. Research that rehabilitates. But there's also the kind aimed at prevention. One such project is the work being done at Montefiore Hospital in New York, where scientists are exploring the possible link between lead in the environment and brain damage in the newborn. After measuring the amount of radiation in a special lead solution, the solution is then injected into groups of fertilized eggs. By tracing the progress of the radioactive lead in the tissues of chick embryos, the scientists have discovered that it definitely causes brain lesions. The question is, could there be a relationship between the deliberate introduction of lead into this embryo's environment and the incidental presence of lead in the environment to which a human embryo's mother is exposed? That's what Dr. Robert Cochin, and United Cerebral Palsy are trying to determine. Preventive research isn't only concerned with the prevention of cerebral palsy before birth, but after birth as well. For instance, a child arrives long before he was expected. Question, where does he go from there? What are the chances of survival for an infant that comes into the world weighing less than 3.5 pounds? With the kind of facilities they have at Columbia Presbyterian Babies Hospital, he's got a better than even chance. That's what happened to this infant about 3 years ago. And because he received the kind of care that he did, he's alive today and as healthy a little boy as you could find.
When I look at Scotty today and I see him running around and he's healthy and his eyes and his ears are fine, it's just, we just feel that we're so lucky. The children adore their baby brother, and my husband and I are so thrilled that he has no damage from that, and we're just so thankful to the doctors and nurses at the hospital and the wonderful job that was done for him.
The wonderful job that Scotty's mother speaks of is made possible by such men as Dr. Richard Konigsberger and his associates, who maintain the newborn intensive care unit at Babies Hospital in New York, where a prematurely born baby's heart rate, blood pressure, blood sugar level, and oxygen levels can be monitored electronically. Such monitoring and analysis of data are possible as a result of studies dealing with oxygen levels and developments in electronics and the use of computers. Improved methods of newborn care add up to fewer babies subjected to brain damage. In other words, one more step toward prevention of cerebral palsy. This brief look at a lot of diversified research has barely scratched the surface because it represents only one small fraction of the hundreds of projects supported by United Cerebral Palsy grants, which in 25 years have helped to reduce the incidence of cerebral palsy by as much as 50%, and in addition have led to vastly improved methods of care, treatment, and management of those affected. Did I say diversified research? I should have added innovative as well, because using toys to improve the physical and mental capabilities of handicapped children is surely innovative. Now imagine the use of words to change a man's life, especially if they're the powerfully suggestive words of hypnosis.
You're going to find yourself growing increasingly relaxed and very much at ease. Very deeply relaxed now. Very deeply and thoroughly relaxed.
That was the thinking behind United Cerebral Palsy's financing of research in relaxation therapy. Dr. Milton Klein, with the use of hypnosis, is helping a man with cerebral palsy to improve his halting speech.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. My name is John Hodgins, and I'm calling you in regard to the letter I sent you.
There are other exciting projects underway. Perhaps you've heard of the use of electrode implants in the brain, pioneered by Dr. Irving S. Cooper, a technique now being used to improve the functional capabilities of people with cerebral palsy. Well, United Cerebral Palsy is supporting a follow-up study of persons who have received this implant in order to determine its long-range possibilities. And so it goes. Research, the trial and error kind. The plodding but productive kind, the different kind. The results of all of this intensive work are seldom immediately apparent. On the other hand, they're sometimes thrillingly obvious. What's important to remember is, wherever there's a possibility of uncovering new facts about brain damage, United Cerebral Palsy is there.